Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
So I got all my information from Jane Slater. She's been a Dallas Cowboy reporter for I think the past like 10 years or so. So she knows what she's talking about. So shout out to you, Jane. Thank you for the information. Appreciate it. So a couple of things that people don't know about Dak Prescott's contract right off the bat. It's actually a 6-year contract, not a 4-year contract.
Right.
Online it's saying, oh, it's 4 years. It's a 6-year contract. But most likely what's going to happen is those last 2 years are going to get voided on the end.
Sure.
Why? Because it helps them spread out the cap hit over 6 years instead of 4 years, right? So it's a 6-year deal, $160 million, $126 million guaranteed.
Which is over 3/4 of it. Up front. And I believe he got a $65 million signing bonus. Which means in his bank account, as soon as he signs it, he gets about 60-something million.
I think it's 65 or 75, somewhere, but either way, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely massive. What I found was interesting just right off the bat is that there's no trade clause in the contract.
Sure. Which usually just gives the player, which teams don't typically mind, because if a player like Dak Prescott, you're not going to want to trade unless he wants out. In which case, he's going to give the approval for whatever team he wants to go to.
Which doesn't, as long as you keep the player happy, doesn't really have as big a factor as it sounds like it does.
Which is the standard with star quarterbacks anyway. Russell Wilson has one. Deshaun Watson has one.
Tom Brady
has one. Right.
Aaron Rodgers.
They all have no trade clauses. That just means like, hey, you can't put me in a situation I don't want to be in.
Yep. Exactly. But one thing I found was very interesting and pretty ironic having it be Dak Prescott is the fact that he has a no franchise tag clause, so he can never be franchise tagged again under the current contract that he was just offered.
Yeah.
Which I've never heard that before.
Sure.
I've never. It's just so funny.
It's a Dak Prescott thing, right?
It's such a Dak thing.
Every time you talked about his contract, it was, is he going to get franchise tagged again? Is he going to get franchise tagged again? And he said, nope, you're never franchise tagging me again. Don't even think about it.
Which you can't blame him. I mean, granted, I think there's this big misconception about the franchise tag. The franchise tag is really, it's a bad thing if you're looking for a big payday, but for a 1-year deal, you get paid really, really well.
I believe the rule for it is you instantly get paid top 5 money at your position.
So it's top 5. It's top 5 paychecks of that position combined, and then the average of all 5.
Okay.
Or 120% of your last contract, whichever one is more.
Gotcha.
And I think the big thing is that if you're looking at that contract, the thing that really sucks, if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, and if you're Jerry Jones, you should be kicking yourself in the ass, because if you had just given this guy his contract 2 years ago like he was asking for, you would have been paying him $30 to $32 million. Now you're paying him $40 million a year.
Which is strange, because I don't feel like he's done much more.
No. No.
To earn more. Do you think they overpaid?
It's tough, right? Because if you look at...
There's 2 facets of this, really.
If you look at a lot of his statistical categories, he leads the league in a lot of areas, or he's the top 3 quarterback in a lot of areas. But if you look at when he gets a lot of those, stats, a lot of those throwing yards, touchdown receptions, completions, things of that nature, it's when they're behind by 20 points or plus. You look at all 5 games he played this year in 2020, every single game was that. They were behind by 20 points, and they were trying to make an epic comeback where it was just prevent defense. You see it all the time. Prevent defense doesn't do anything in terms of stopping somebody.
And that's where I think of, Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott is a top 10 quarterback. Somewhere in that 5 to 10 range. I don't think he's top 5. And he's getting paid top 5 money now.
No, he's not. He's not a top 5 quarterback.
He's making all of this money for most of his career so far. He's had a top offensive line minus this year because of injuries and COVID and all that. Top 5 running back. Now he has a top receiving core. How much more support are you going to give a guy and rely on his stats for how he's succeeding until you start expecting him to win football games? The most he's done for that team is 8-8. That's it. That's the most he's done for the Dallas Cowboys. So how much value does Dak Prescott really have to the Dallas Cowboys? I think they are overpaying him so hard. However, the nature of the NFL is you need a good quarterback to succeed.
So you would have a chance.
You have a good quarterback. You need to keep him. But at what point do you say, like, get out of here?
You know, and I think one thing that was interesting too is you are right. You know, I do think they overpaid him, but I think the Dallas Cowboys, they shot themselves in the foot. They did this exactly to themselves. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because they kept saying, "Hey, you know, Dak, we just don't think you're worth this." And Dak Prescott saying, "Okay, I'm gonna bet on myself. Sure, you got it. Somebody's gonna pay me. Whether it's you or somebody else, somebody's going to pay me."
Mm-hmm.
Ended up being the Cowboys, but the fact of the matter is this: Dak Prescott got hurt, and that team got exponentially worse because of that. His leverage got so much farther increased because of his injury. That team would have been better than what they were had Dak Prescott had been in the game. That's fact.
I think 1 or 2 games better though.
I disagree.
I don't know if that. How many wins did they get this year? 4? 5?
Ooh.
You think they win more with that defense? You think they win more than 7 games?
I definitely think it's closer at the very least. I think they're more
I
competitive.
think maybe they win the division. The division's already trashed, so that's not much of an accomplishment.
Well, I'll
But you
tell
win
you-
the division, lose to Tampa in the wild card round. Congratulations,
Yeah.
you're the same as the Washington football team. They don't have a quarterback either right now. So
That's true, but still, you know, is it better to make the playoffs or not make the playoffs?
no, of course
You
it's
know what
better to
I'm
make the playoffs, right? But I think there's so much wrong with the Dallas Cowboys at this point, which is basically to say there's not. I think there's probably about 1 or 2 star players on that defense. That's it. Everybody else is disposable and needs to be better. There are so many holes on that team that even when Dak Prescott's doing well, with a good offensive line, with a top 5 running back, with a really good receiving core,
Still can't win.
they're still an 8-8 team. So, at what point are you going to realize, no, Dak, you're not getting all this money. Let's get a reality check here for a second. You're not worth Patrick Mahomes money. You're not worth Lamar Jackson money. Honestly,
Woof.
you're not worth Aaron Rodgers money. You're not worth Russell Wilson money. You're not worth Deshaun Watson money. And when Kyler Murray gets his contract, you're not worth Kyler Murray money. Dak Prescott needs to realize he is an above average quarterback in an above average situation in that offense on a mediocre football team. And this football team stays mediocre.
Well, I'll tell you-
How much you willing to pay for mediocrity?
Hey, they'll pay him $40 million a year. That's what they'll pay.
And
And you wanna know what? I love him. I love him getting paid.
of course,
I
think
love him
good
getting
for
paid.
good for him.
Absolutely.
But if you're the Dallas Cowboys,
you're in trouble.
you are in trouble.
Yeah.
You're not winning that division next year. You're not winning the year
No.
after that. You're not winning the year after that. This is the honestly. You
Um,
want to talk about a team that's quarterback away? Washington football team.
Yep.
They are a quarterback away from going what they went 7-9
I think they win the division next year.
to 10-6.
I have them
with a
winning the
good
division.
quarterback. I would absolutely have them winning the
Yeah.
division next year.
I mean, their
No doubt
defense
about
is a top 5 defense right
And
off the bat.
I wouldn't even say Dallas is second. I put the Giants at second.
Mhm.
And then honestly, they're fighting for third with the Eagles. Dude, they're.
No. And then I'm a Cowboy hater, right? Trust.
I think the Cowboys are making a mistake by saying, "Oh, we got our guy in Dak Prescott. All right, Jerry Jones. Okay, we gonna go win some games now?" I don't think so. I think at best next year they go 8-8.
Well, I'll say this. I think at the very least, they made the right decision because, like you had said, right, you need to have a quarterback to have a chance. And it's been known for years. It hasn't been an offense thing. You know, it's been a defense thing. And I think you're better off at least knowing that it's still a defense thing than it is a both sides of the ball thing.
Sure.
Right? So at the very least, you gotta solidify the pieces that you know will produce for you. Especially if you're the Dallas Cowboys, where you don't know where you're gonna get your production from. You have all these marquee guys that never play. So to have a guy like Dak Prescott, I would say Dak Prescott is the only person on that team that deserved to get paid. Let's be
That's
real.
fair.
Let's be real.
They paid Zeke too early.
Zeke
They
is
paid Amari
overpaid.
Cooper too
DeMarcus
much.
Lawrence is overpaid. Amari Cooper's overpaid. That linebacker is overpaid. 54, whatever his name is.
Sean Lee?
No.
No.
54, the dreads. He had the ACL injury that was pretty nasty, that knee injury.
Yeah, that's
He's the only person on that team that's getting paid, I think, actually accurately.
I don't know if that.
Partially because of the position.
Sure.
The way the NFL works, you can't just say, "Hey, I'm going to get paid $40 million less than what the standard is." It doesn't work
No,
like
not
that.
40 million less, but I think somewhere in the 35 million range is better than something that's 45 for Dak Prescott.
And I understand what you're saying, but I don't think the NFLPA would let that happen because there's factors that are in play other than just the player and the team. The NFLPA says we can't have that because the market needs to continue to increase. So every person that gets paid has to get paid more.
So then I say walk. Go play somewhere else. Have a good day.
Well, it's
Go find a team. Go find a team where you're gonna succeed better than here. Have fun. Have fun getting worse facilities than here in Dallas. Have fun getting worse everything.
But it has nothing to do with the team, though. It's the NFLPA.
So what I'm saying is
It's the Players Association.
And then that's when I say you ain't worth it. PA can say you're worth it. You can say you're worth it. Your agent can say you're worth it. I don't think you're worth it. So if I can't sign you for this deal, go take a walk. Go find a place somewhere else.
Well,
there are lots of good quarterbacks in this draft this year.
They're not going to play like Dak Prescott.
Well, they clearly already didn't. They already didn't play Dak Prescott like that because they said, all right, we'll give you the money.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you got, I could say probably 4 guys who could live up to Dak Prescott's legacy in the draft this year. You got, granted, they're not getting Trevor Lawrence. Don't worry about that.
No.
You're probably not getting Zach
They're not
Wilson.
getting any of them.
Well, now they're not.
No.
Now they won't. Because why would you? Because they wouldn't. Dak Prescott.
They wouldn't either. They weren't in a good enough draft position regardless.
But I think if you're rolling with my Cowboys,
Sure.
let Dak walk, get a young talent.
No.
Because Dallas is that kind of city that will never say they're in a rebuild.
Sure, you can't. If you're America's team, you can't rebuild.
They never will.
No, you can't rebuild.
So that's why they feel they have to grasp onto any talent they have. They overpay Zeke. They overpay Dak. They overpay.
Oh, and Jerry Jones is the richest owner in NFL history.
But you can overpay. You still got a cap.
That's true. But
so,
it's one of those things though. If they have those, like with anything, like you look back, 20, 30 years ago, they had all these, who was their running back they had? Emmitt Smith. They had a guy like Deion Sanders. They had all these people, that were just marquee, brand name guys.
You know what the difference is?
They were good.
They won Super Bowls. They won Super Bowls. You know what the most thing Dak Prescott's done? Take him to an 8-8. I don't think he made the playoffs. And if he has made the playoffs, pretty sure he lost. I don't think they've done much of anything. Anything.
I don't know if they made it.
With Dak Prescott, Zeke, they're wasting these guys' talent. Dak. Again, I know I'm going on about it. He's top 10.
Agreed.
5 to 10.
Agreed.
Somewhere in that range.
I don't disagree with that at all.
He's making top 3 money.
Again, yes. And
now,
I
granted, once Lamar Jackson's contract comes up, once Kyler Murray's contract comes up, if they don't get paid more than him, I'd be very, very surprised.
They physically won't be able to not get paid less. And that's the point I was making about the NFLPA. The way the NFL is set up, which is actually good for the players, right?
Of course it's good for the players, but...
Which is great for the players, which at the end of the day, players versus owners, it'll always be a dynamic, right? That was, I think, part of the factor as to why Dak got paid the way he got paid. Also, part of the reason why is because he had Todd Francis, who is a great negotiator. He's a tough SOB when it comes to negotiating. He gets people broken off, bro. He gets people broken off. And I think another interesting fact, too, is that, so it's a 6-year deal, but it's going to be pretty much 4 years, right? So, which is interesting because that new NFL, that new TV money that they always talk about, every 8 years, the TV deals get restructured and you get more money paid.
Jerry Jones is part of that.
Correct. Well, interesting is that at that 3rd year mark where Dak Prescott can restructure is right at the point where that new TV money starts, and he will restructure at 3 years. He will do it at 3 years. So that's the reason why he was fighting so hard for 4 years versus 5 years.
What if Dak says, I don't want to play with Dallas anymore?
Hey, then that's the thing. He waits for that 4th year, you run it out, and then you can't be franchise tagged, so you're good. You're free agent.
Do you think Dallas does anything with Dak in 4 years? I know we're looking really far ahead. There's like 4 other draft classes. They're freshmen in college right now who are going to be up for the draft.
I think it comes down to the defense.
Sure.
I think offensively, I think they'll be okay. Just trust me. Anybody who watches, you guys know I am the biggest Dallas Cowboys hater ever. Ever. But I'll say this. I think the offense has never necessarily been the issue. I think it's always been defensive side of the ball, which has been the problem. So I think if they can't secure the defense, they're in trouble. Big trouble. No, I don't see them doing anything. No, I don't see anything happening.
I mean, maybe they'll win. I think maybe they'll win a division or 2 in 4 years. Or 1 or 2. I think the Washington football team's so young. They have a lot of talent. They got a young running back. They're not paying much right now. They got young defensive players they're not paying right now. If they can secure a quarterback at some point, maybe. I mean, we're kind of going into other things now. But if they, secure like a Sam Darnold through a trade,
sure,
who's a good young player, or something along those lines, trade up in the draft, or snag Jimmy G if the Niners are trying to get rid of him or any sort of thing like that. We'll talk about that. I know exactly where you're going with that. I think the Washington football team's better set up than Dallas is for the future. Dallas is set up for right now. And not even set up for right now.
I was about to say.
But that's what I'm saying. They're not future-proof at all.
No.
They don't have good young talent other than CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, and maybe Zeke.
You could say Zeke. You could see Amari Cooper. They're young.
Right.
And that's the thing, right? They have the players. There's just something else going on in that organization that doesn't make sense.
Coaching's bad. I don't like Mike McCarthy.
I don't like Jerry Jones as the owner either. He has his hand too far into the pot. And again, you're the owner. I get it. But at the same time, you're the owner. You're not the coach or the GM or anything of that nature. You're like, the owner is the owner. Sit in your box, look pretty, pay these people to do their job. Mm-hmm. Let them do their job.
Now he's paying him too much, so.
Oh, he's doing something. But good for you, Dak. Shout out to Dak.
Yeah, no, definitely good for you.
Salute to you, Dak. Congrats on your
Anytime
contract.
a guy gets paid, it's good deal.
You love it. You gotta love to see it. So.